The city was sinking into the damp and piercing autumn twilight. The sky was covered by a gray veil, promising imminent rain. The wind tore the last crimson leaves from the trees, and they settled upon the wet granite of the sidewalks. Moving through this flux of decay was Xenia, clutching a bouquet of snow-white roses to her chest. Tomorrow was meant to be a turning point in her destiny, the official registration of her marriage. Her thoughts were consumed by Mihail. Their romance, sparked this spring in a chic cafe on the corner of Nevsky Prospect, had developed rapidly. He had conquered her with his charisma, attentiveness, and his ability to find the right words at any moment. In these 6 months, she had never doubted her decision. Her inheritance, a 2-room apartment in the historic center, a gift from her late grandmother, was meant to become their family nest. Mihail had already settled in, having moved most of his suitcases, and this seemed so logical and right to her. The streets had become almost deserted. The rare passers-by hurried to shelter from the bad weather, bundling up in their coat collars. The dampness penetrated to the bone. Xenia quickened her pace, dreaming of a hot bath and quiet, to gather her thoughts before tomorrow's important event. And at that moment, her gaze caught a silhouette in the darkness. Beneath a solitary, flickering lamppost stood an elderly woman, motionless. She was wrapped in countless layers of dark shawls. Her face resembled dry earth, covered by a dense web of wrinkles. But her eyes lived a separate life. They were astonishingly young, piercing. Their clarity was almost frightening. This woman was staring fixedly at Xenia. There was something in her gaze that made the girl stop, rooted to the spot. "Little girl," a low, chesty voice rasped, and a wrinkled hand reached out to her. "Stop, I must reveal something to you." Xenia had always known street fortune-tellers were to be avoided. Her mother had told her this constantly, but in this voice, there was such an authoritative note, such urgency, that she could not move from the spot. "I don't have time," Xenia stammered, though her feet refused to obey and would not move forward. "He is lying to you." The old woman took a step closer, and Xenia was struck by a strong smell of dried herbs and campfire. "Your fiancé. He will deceive you and take your home. I see it as clear as day." Xenia's heart sank. What absurdity. Mihail adored her. He told her this constantly. They were making plans for the future, dreaming of children, of how they would see the world. "It's not true," Xenia said firmly, gripping the bouquet so tightly that the thorns dug into her palm. "You know nothing about me, nor about him." The gypsy shook her head slowly, her massive earrings jingling lightly. "Watch him. Tomorrow, as soon as you leave the registry office, don't lose sight of him. He will not go to your home. He will head to a place you do not suspect. There you will see everything. That's madness." Xenia turned abruptly, ready to flee, but the gypsy's grip on her wrist was unexpectedly strong and hot, almost burning. "I don't need your money, child. I don't need anything. Just check, find out the truth, and then decide for yourself if it's worth believing an ugly old hag." Xenia pulled her hand away and almost ran, not daring to look back. Her cheeks were burning. Her breath was short. The stranger's prophecy beat against her temples like an obsessive rhythm. Deceit. The apartment. He will sell it. At home, she couldn't settle down for a long time, standing by the dark window, looking at the city's nightlights. Mihail called her late in the evening. His voice, as always, dripped with tenderness and joyful enthusiasm. They discussed tomorrow, talked about how wonderful everything would be, but Xenia realized for the first time that she was analyzing his every word. She was looking for a hidden meaning, a subtext, the slightest insincerity. "You are a bit quiet today," he remarked. "I'm just worried," she found a reply. "After all, it's a very serious step." "We will overcome everything, my dear. Together," he assured her confidently. Xenia went to bed long after midnight, but sleep never came that night. She tossed and turned in bed, and before her eyes, again and again, appeared that piercing, all-knowing gaze of the gypsy. Towards dawn, she made up her mind. She didn't believe in mysticism or fortune-telling, but something inside, a small, venomous sprout of doubt, demanded to obtain 100% certainty. The ceremony at the registry office was formal and quick. Around them, other newlyweds bustled. Camera flashes shone. Congratulations echoed. Xenia smiled mechanically, accepted Mihail's hugs, but inside, everything was tightening with an icy premonition. As soon as they stepped out onto the steps, Mihail glanced at his watch. "Darling, I have an emergency. I urgently need to make a call. A short business meeting. I can't cancel it," he said, kissing her on the temple. "I'll be home in a few hours, and only then will we begin to celebrate properly." Xenia nodded, trying with all her might to maintain a calm expression. "Fine. I'll wait for you at home." Mihail caught a car and left. Xenia waited exactly 1 minute, then stopped the next taxi and tossed at the driver. "Follow that car. Don't lose sight of it." She rode through the metropolis, clinging to the door handle. She understood clearly that this resembled paranoia, spying on her own husband on her wedding day. But instinct was stronger than common sense. Mihail's car slowed down near a nondescript business center on the outskirts of the city. Xenia told the driver to stay around the corner and watched. Mihail jumped out of the taxi, adjusted his tie, looked around hastily, and disappeared inside the building. Xenia waited a few agonizing minutes and went in after him. In the dimly lit lobby, she saw the tenant list. The 3rd floor, real estate agency, apartments on Nevsky. Her breath caught. Slowly, as if in a nightmare, she climbed the stairs. The office door was ajar. From inside, male voices could be clearly heard. Xenia, afraid to breathe, looked through the crack. Mihail was sitting casually across from the agency employee. On the table in front of them lay a stack of papers. Xenia made out the letterhead of the document. Her address was listed there. "So, Mr. Sokolov, you confirm?" the real estate agent asked in a banal tone. "Is your wife aware of the sale? Will there be any problems?" "Of course not," Mihail lied without a care. "We just decided together that it's time to expand. She left me a general power of attorney last week to manage affairs." Xenia froze. She had never signed any power of attorney in her life. "Perfect," the agent smiled. "Then, by the end of the week, we'll close everything. Our buyer has already received bank approval." The ground fell out from under her feet. She had to lean against the cold wall. The old gypsy. She hadn't lied about a single word. She descended on legs that felt like cotton, stepped out into the damp, piercing air, and for a few moments simply tried to catch her breath, staring at the gray sky. Then she took out her phone and dialed the number of the lawyer who had handled her inheritance case after her grandmother's death. "I need an urgent legal consultation," she said, in a voice that struggled mightily to control its tremor. "Immediately. Right now." In the evening, when Mihail entered the apartment with a bouquet of flowers and champagne, radiating happiness, Xenia was waiting for him in the living room. She was sitting motionless on the sofa. Next to her was a folder with documents. "My dear," he began joyfully, "forgive me for the delay this business, but now we can—" "Sit down, Mihail," she interrupted him in a glacial tone. Something in her intonation made his smile instantly fade. He slowly sat down in the armchair across from her. "I am aware of your business with the apartment," Xenia said flatly. Mihail's face first turned white as chalk, then filled with a purple blush. "What are you talking about?" His attempt to feign confusion was pathetic. "I followed you. I saw you at the real estate agency. I heard your conversation." A heavy, oppressive silence fell. Mihail fixed his gaze on the floor. "Xenia, I'll explain everything. It's not what you thought. You see, I had debts, I thought." "It is exactly what I think," Xenia cut him off. "You planned to deceive me, to sell my home behind my back, to take all the money and disappear. Our whole love and our marriage were a show." "Leave," Xenia said firmly. "I have already spoken with the lawyer. Our marriage will be declared null as it was fictitious. I have already packed your junk and will leave it outside the door. You have 1 hour." He tried to argue, to beg, to repent, to ask for forgiveness, but Xenia was like stone. When the front door slammed shut behind him, she finally allowed herself to burst into tears. But they were not tears of grief or heartbreak, but of a colossal, deafening relief. 1 week later, when all the legal storms had subsided, Xenia came again to the same street where she had met the gypsy. The lamppost still burned dimly, but beneath it, it was deserted. The old woman was nowhere to be seen. Xenia stood for a few minutes in silence, looking into the autumn darkness. "Thank you," she whispered with only her lips into the void. In response, a gust of wind passed through the bare branches of the trees, and it seemed to Xenia that she heard in that sound a quiet, all-knowing chuckle. She turned and headed home, toward her fortress, which she had been on the verge of losing. A long road of recovery awaited her, but Xenia had learned the main lesson. Sometimes a warning from a complete stranger is capable of saving everything you have. Sometimes it is worth trusting your inner voice, even if that voice belongs to the most unexpected messenger. And the gypsy? She had evaporated just as mystically as she had appeared, leaving behind only the memory of the piercing gaze and the words that had changed the course of events. Autumn was fully asserting its rights. The city was preparing for winter, and Xenia was rebuilding her life, immensely grateful to Providence for that sign she had not dared to ignore. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. To hear more stories like this, please subscribe to the channel.